On behalf of TCS Ion Direct Academy channel, I welcome all of you to the talk show on the topic how general manufacturing industry can leverage performance marketing strategies. Today we have with us Mr. Gopal Shastri. He is a managing director of a German multinational, Justman Controllers India Private Limited from Bangalore. And before I introduce, I will just give a quick overview of what we're going to discuss today. The topic is how general manufacturing industry can leverage performance marketing strategies. Marketing, as we all know, is a crucial part of a manufacturing organization because it connects manufacturers, wholesalers, and distributors, ensuring your product reaches its end user. Determining the best ways to market your manufacturing company and the products is very important. Presently, industry is moving towards automation and technology, but many companies still rely on dated practices that don't produce results and also require a ton of effort. Perhaps that's why investing in thorough business-to-business marketing strategies, B2B marketing strategies we call, have to be developed in such a way that they should give good results. According to a report, 70% of the companies globally are investing in content marketing, while 63% of them have plans to upgrade their website this year. Generally, business websites and social media are the most used distribution channel for marketeers. So let's understand from our expert today, Mr. Shastri, about the best performance marketing strategies which can be leveraged in the general manufacturing industry. Introducing the speaker, Mr. Shastri. Gopal Shastri is the managing director at German multinational Justman Controllers India Private Limited. Here, he is also associated with their new project of setting up the India operations, including the assembly unit at Bangalore. Justman is one of the global leaders in manufacturing master controllers for railway application, along with multi-axis controls for cranes, mining, electro-hydraulic equipment, and marine. Mr. Shastri started his career as a trainee engineer at Kirloskar Electric Company Limited, and thereon moved on to different places in different positions in Kirloskar Electric as resident manager for Western UP. Then he was a branch manager of Orissa operations. He was a regional manager East, and then shifted to Bangalore as the head of traction marketing, and then of course head of sales and marketing in Kirloskar Electric Company Limited. Thereafter, he moved on to American multinational TLT Babcock India Private Limited as a vice president sales, services and marketing, heading the entire industrial fans division. And then of course he moved on to French multinational Favli Transport Rail Technology India Private Limited as the head of the business services group. So Mr. Shastri is an expert and has had an illustrious career in his area of operation, and currently he's MD of Justman Controllers India Private Limited. So welcome, Mr. Shastri, to our talk show.
Thank you, Mr. Vasudevan, and it's indeed, thank you, Rahul, thank you, Mr. Vasudevan, and it's indeed a pleasure to be associated with this talk show. And for me, marketing, in spite of me handling the operations today, marketing has been my favorite subject, and I thank TCS Ion for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for taking your time and being with us in this program. We will get on with the discussion. So, Mr. Shastri, my first question. So my question basically is, how marketing strategies can impact the growth of the general manufacturing industry? If you can share your views, please.
Sure, Mr. Vasudevan. It's like this. For any organization in the manufacturing segment, it is very necessary that there is a very clear connect between the product line of manufacturing and the marketing strategy. Because otherwise, both have to go hand in hand. Otherwise, I feel there could be a disconnect. I'm taking a very simple example, even if we take a standard industrial application, electric three-phase motors, there has to be a proper synchronization between the engineering division of the manufacturing unit, the manufacturing capability, and marketing. if it is a standard motor which the company produces and the marketing is pushing for special applications, calling for tailor-made products, it will be a failure because the company doesn't have that range, whereas the marketing division is going ahead for special applications. And similarly, if the company is focusing on very basic product line which can be sold through channel partners, then it is necessary for marketing team to focus on channel market development rather than focusing on special application. What I meant to state this was that we should very clearly know the marketing and manufacturing should go arm in arm. Otherwise, what happens is that both will be moving tangentially, and then end result would be what we produce will not be sold, and what is actually booked by the marketing division will not be produced, and this leads to disconnect in the market. So I would recommend that marketing and manufacturing should sit jointly to understand what the market segments they like to target, the specialties involved, the design strength available, the price realization, etc. Otherwise, it could lead to a disaster as what the market wants could not be produced because of rate limitation. So I would say that over my 3 decades of professional career in different organizations, when I was in my very first organization like Kirloskar Electric, they had a mix of standard and specials. Then I moved over to American multinationals where each fan was tailor-made. Then I went to a railway organization like Feveli where they had special applications for railway products. And now when I am in my current organization, Guestman, each product is tailor-made. So what I meant to say was that in each of these organizations, what I observed and what I learned was that manufacturing and marketing used to sit, discuss, understand the strength, weakness, and opportunities available and the threats available. Based on this, the joint strategies used to be made. And I'm very sure that all these have been very successful companies, primarily because marketing and manufacturing went hand in hand. Each one complemented the other. This is how I would recommend that the marketing strategies can impact the growth of general manufacturing industry. Mr. Vasu.
So, yeah, thank you, Mr. Shastri. The whole need comes from manufacturing and in order to address the market. So it is all fine-tuned based on manufacturing requirements.
Yeah, both have to go hand in hand, Mr. Vasudevan, because otherwise what happens is that, yes, like there are companies which are making a very standard electric motor, whereas if the marketing team is focusing on some very special applications, the company may not have the wherewith means to produce or design such products, and then it gets a bad name. So I'm taking examples of my past organizations and my current organization. They have been very clear on what our strengths are, where we should go, what we should do, and definitely it has always been a success story irrespective of any type of product what it is.
Right. Now, it is also important to know that the sales and marketing strategies have been implemented correctly. So what are the parameters, Mr. Shastri, that help you to analyze that these strategies are implemented correctly in manufacturing companies?
Well, Mr. Vasu, I would put it this way, that for any product, irrespective of whether it is an industrial product or a consumable, the visibility is of utmost importance. I would say visibility is of utmost importance. So I would say that even for an industrial product, what we are talking, for any manufacturing company, the visibility measurement is a very, very, very important aspect. How visible the product is. How visible in the sense whether, if a industry wants a certain product in a remote place in Assam or in any far-flung area, whether the customers, the end user is aware of your product. End user means the visibility I'm talking about. So this is extremely important. And when we formulate the marketing and sales strategies, I would recommend that for any organization, visibility needs to be measured. How visible the organization is, how visible the organization product is, whether people are aware of the product. These are something which I would recommend is very, very important. Second, I would say is when you are formulating the strategy, what is the reach of the marketing network? How far you can go? Say, like for example, when I talk about a company like Kirloskar or Feveli, they had reach in every remote city, I would say, and that is was their strength. You name a city, they had a person, or they had a dealer network, or they had a franchisee. So I would recommend that second important aspect would be what is the reach of the marketing network. It is not only the type of sales and marketing network you have, but also the how the information reaches to the people who need it, whether it is a process industry or a chemical industry or a rice mill or a flour mill, because the applications could be numerous. How does the information reach about the product? So I would say reach is exceedingly important. You may have the best of the product, but if you are not visible, if you don't have the reach, I don't think in the current scenario or even in the past, you would be able to sell your products in the market, or it will give the required, benefits to the organization. So that's why I would say, and third aspect would be that every aspect of sales and marketing needs to be measured. That is most important. I mean, whatever we do, when we say, okay, I'm making a cold call, we should measure that. Whether I'm making a call to a customer in the, a technical seminar, it should be measured. And measurement is not only conducting the seminar, Mr. Vasudevan, what has been the benefit of the seminar, how it has been, how useful it has been. So I would recommend that for any industry, when you are formulating a strategy, it is not that, yes, today I met 5 customers. That's very easy. You could meet 5 customers or you could interact with 5 customers. But at the same time, what has been the quantification after the visit to these customers attracts lot of importance, I would say. Because otherwise, yes, it becomes a number game. Sir, yes, I met 5 customers. What was the impact? How impactful was your visit? Did it align with your thinking? All these things are there. So I would recommend that any company, when they are talking about the strategy, please ensure that we should have every aspect what we do should be measurable. That is another thing we should know. Third is, are we in a monopolistic market or in a mass market? This is also important. Now, when you are formulating a strategy, we should be very clear that yes, if it is a monopolistic market or a very niche market, your strategies would be different. Your strategies would be more oriented towards the technical aspects of the product, educating the customer, reaching to the customer, guiding him on new applications, etc., etc. And when you are in a mass market, yes, it is the availability and other things, and how people could get in touch with the customers matters. So I would say that yes, for each of the companies like Guessman, it is not exactly in a monopolistic market, neither it is in a mass market. So we have to formulate both the strategies, because yes, there are some, because most of our products are for niche application. We need to sit with the customer, we need to interact with the customer, we need to understand his application. At times we suggest him also what could be the best possible product which we could go. So then accordingly the strategy matters. And when we talk about the strategies, accordingly you look at the manpower, what is available with you, whether he or she could meet the required strategies what you are formulating. All these comes. So I would say that yes, once we know where my products are going, then it becomes important how to position the product. Then we should know the type of competition you are having. Very important. Your strategies also depends on the type of competition you are having. Now, for example, if we take an electric motor, we should understand that there are many good players available in the market. Each one is an equally valuable player. So now you should know how to strategize the market, and then each of these organizations are having a combination of standard and special. So this is the type of competition you are having. Then next comes, how are you positioning your product? This becomes very important. Like where do you position? Is it a premium product or it is a very standard product? Let us take in, we are all aware of the DG set business, we are all aware of the engines business. But if we look at some market leaders in the engine business like Cummins or Caterpillar, they are always positioned as a premium product. Similarly, if you look at an automobile, Maruti, yes, like a Maruti automobiles or a Maruti car It likes to reach to the bottommost people. Whereas Toyota, I mean, here again, if you have an Innova brand, it wants to reach to the niche market. Whereas if you have Etios, it would reach to the taxi segments and other things. So again, the strategies will depend on what the company's objectives are. Where do you want to position your product? Where exactly you're targeting the audience, and accordingly, you would have to formulate the strategies for any of such products. That's one more thing. Last but not the least is, as I am telling, I mean, which I have personally done and I got it done through my team in my previous companies, mapping. This me, I mean, it may look a very primitive statement, but mapping by experience, product mapping in different potential areas will give you the very right inputs. And this, I mean, when you go for a product, I mean, I will just share my experience, even if it takes a minute or two. When we were selling electric motors, we thought, why not we understand how our products are perceived in the market. We were doing phenomenally well, but then when we went to certain areas for mapping, we decided that yes, even at the basic grassroots end users level, we would do the mapping and find out that a lot of questions came. Sir, your products are available, but your products are expensive. Sometimes your distributor doesn't respond properly. Sometimes they take advantage of this situation, that situation, and then they told, sir, your packing is not good or XYZ. I mean, some good comments, some bad comments. And then you need to take these aspects into your stride. So I would recommend that once you know who could be your potential target customer, why not do a mapping? It is like your exit poll. I mean, if you call mapping nothing but an exit poll, what we all would have seen in different elections after the voting is over. And this really gives you a proper insight on where you stand, where the organization stands, what the people perceive about the product, what the industry perceive about your product, and this helps you in taking necessary corrective actions. These are my views, sir.
Absolutely. Being able to measure the output, the outcome, and quantify
Exactly, yes. Quantify it. I would recommend 100% that for whatever actions we take in marketing, it has to be quantified. It has to be quantified. Even if you are, as I told in the very beginning, even if you are making a cold call, it should be quantified. If you are participating in an exhibition and you have a lot of footfalls, you should quantify how many were meaningful. Because, I mean, I didn't take the example of exhibitions, but then, I mean, of course, not in the current pandemic, but otherwise, we had a lot of trade fairs, good engineering expositions, and companies spend a good amount of money participating in such exhibitions. But at the same time, when you analyze what type of people visited you, this gives you an insight on what people are perceiving and other things. But in my view, every action of marketing needs to be measured, and that only will lead you to the right direction.
Right. You've, of course, detailed on the strategies and how you formulate the strategies depending on the customer segment that you focus on.
Exactly.
What application it is and all. Now, what are the so, Mr. Shastri, what are the key factors which affects the marketing, sales and marketing strategy of a manufacturing company?
See, I mean, in my view, as I have seen over the period of 3 decades, being in different organizations, different marketing segments, customer satisfaction level is exceedingly important. We may be market leaders, but maybe customer is still buying your product because he has currently no choice available. So I would recommend customer satisfaction level is of utmost importance. When I talk about customer satisfaction level, I would say that each company should have a proper customer feedback mechanism like application study. Is the customer happy with our deliveries? Is the customer happy with our after sales service? Is the customer happy with our product features? If this is not done and there is no product development for future, we become complacent, and there is a possibility of getting pushed out in future if better brands are available. And this I have personally seen in my own experience what companies which were market leaders and they never bothered because the products were selling, over a period of time, they virtually got pushed out because they really never took the customers' feedback into their stride. They felt, yes, we are market leaders, we have X% of market share, who can, push us out and other things, and they never bothered for the customer feedback. So I would say that irrespective of your standing in the market, customer feedback mechanism becomes utmost important. And when we talk of customer feedback mechanism, I would say that you have to go into the very, very, very basic aspects. I have listed only a few, but it could be application study, it could be our deliveries, it could be our packing, it could be our after sales service, because we become, if the product is doing well, I have seen, it's a human nature. Certain organizations, the people working in, I wouldn't say the organization, but the people working in the organization, they become arrogant. They don't respond properly. Obviously, at certain stage, the customers may not have choice and they may still accept you. But as they move further, India has, why India? The globally it has been a very dynamic market, and I'm sure sooner than later you would be pushed out. So I would say that every step you need to have a proper customer feedback mechanism. The customer feedback means, yes, it's not possible in a vast country like India to reach every customer, but you have to sit with your channel partners, you have to sit with your service centers, you should sit with your grassroots engineers, you should take all possible feedback, and then only I would say that these feedbacks has to be given back to the manufacturing, the design sections, and they say, yes, gentlemen, the packing is not good. We could see that when the products were reaching Patiala or Ludhiana, there were transit damages, the shaft was broken, this was broken, the paint got peeled off. Maybe, yes, initially as our tendency is, we may try to resist such feedbacks. We'll say, no, we packed well, the transporter didn't handle well, but the fruit of the pudding is in eating, and then ultimately it is for the end user. He will say, sir, I got your motor in condition. And so I would say that then we need to do the retrospect whether my packing was good or whether it was handled badly. And then, a root cause analysis, all these aspects are required. All these analysis, whether it is done by your manufacturing team or by your quality team, can depend based on what inputs you collect from the market. I am very sure that if feedback mechanism is not proper, it will affect the product. And this has to, and every feedback has to be taken in the right perspective. I have seen as a youngster, when we were giving feedback, we were shrugged off. Oh, no. Somebody is misguiding you. But then, as senior people or people who are listening to such feedback, we should have our own experience in accepting certain feedback. But at the same time, we have to be good listeners. Otherwise, I would say that in this competitive world where every day there is a new development in the product, one could be pushed out. As I told, it is eliciting the customer feedback. This is a big challenge, but we have to be very, very, very good listeners to understand what the market is telling, what the people are telling. So that's why I would say that any sales and marketing person, it is not only that he books an order or he collects money or he submits offer on time. One of the major challenges he or she should have is how they collect the feedback from the market. What feedback and how they flow back this feedback. Organize. Otherwise, I would say that yes, we may have many feedback. If it is not going back to the right people who need to do the product development, we are not doing this to the job. Then last is brand positioning. Again, this is a similar subject what I discussed earlier also. How do you position your product? Is it a mass product or a niche product or a high-end product that is a premium product? So that again, it is again by the experience you can decide based on the customers you are handling and other things. How do you position the product? And accordingly, the brand management becomes exceedingly important. You would see that, if we look at companies which have grown over the last 2 decades, it has been the brand management which has helped them in growing. Not that the product was not good, but then they did lot of brand promotion from the grassroots level. So I would say ultimately it is the feedback mechanism, and every aspect of the market feedback has to be given back to the organization. This is my views, Mr. Dev.
Thank you, Mr. Shastri.
Yeah.
Of course, keeping customer at the center of our entire scheme of
Yes.
things.
Yes. You are very right, because see, we may sell the product through any channel. So you could sell it through a dealer, you could sell it through a OEM. OEM means who is assembling a product using your product. But ultimately, it is the end user whose feedback is important, because ultimately he is using your product, and it matters the most. Because if he says no, even your dealer cannot help you in pushing your product.
Absolutely, you're right.
Yes.
Now, the next question we have is, I'm sure many of the companies will be thinking on these lines. Every company, they have their existing marketing assets. Do you think, Mr. Shastri, optimizing the existing marketing assets can give better results with respect to sales and marketing?
I would put it this way: it all depends, Mr. Vasudevan, on 2-3 things. First is that what markets, what type of products you are marketing. Okay, what type of products you are marketing. Say, for example, now in my current organization, we are marketing highly technical products, which is highly application oriented. Okay, correct. So now you cannot. Then what happens is that you need to have your assets. Assets means I presume assets means the manpower, right? If I'm correct. Hello?
Absolutely. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So what happens, and then in that case, what we decide is that yes, we have a central pool of technical manpower, and they would be supporting across the country, depending on the product range and other things. But now, for example, if you are having a fairly standard product, which is a mass consumed product, could be a switchgear, could be an electric motor, could be any other product, then what happens is that you need to have a spread out resource. You cannot keep all the resources. Say, for example, my company's headquarters is Bangalore. If I am selling a product which is sold in mass, I need to have my resources across the different market centers. So it is vice versa. It depends on what type of product you are marketing, and what is the strength of the product, what are the technical capabilities of the product, and what aspects are required by the marketing person to sell the product. Based on that, you need to place the resources. So third could be that yes, once you have the desired idea about the market, you could place your resources rather than keeping all your resources in a single city or in a single headquarters. You could decide, yes, for example, West is a very potential region, so why not have my resource in Pune, Mumbai or Ahmedabad? Similarly, North has a good business potential, so place one of your resources in North. So, you could decide on both the things. It could be geographically spread, it could be market segment wise spread. Supposing your product is more towards, say, for example, Guessman products, it is more on, say, we have different verticals, but say for the railway vertical, you could decide, yes, wherever the major business of railways is, the car builders and all are there, I could have my resources. So it is, a very tricky situation that optimizing the resource is very important. You cannot have everybody sitting here and every day somebody is going all the way to Delhi, Bombay and other things. So depending on how the market is, how the market reach is and other things, we could spread the resources, and that also helps because it saves time. Today, one thing we all should understand is that the customer requires instant replies. Okay, during this pandemic, which has been virtually working from home, and we have been doing more of digital marketing. In the sense speaking over Microsoft Teams or web other things. But otherwise, if your resources are locally based and it's a technical market or a commercial market, the resource could immediately contact the customer. So we have to have a fine balance between resources being in one place or spreading it. This is my view. Say, and also it depends. Say, for example, if your product is more towards the petrochemical industry, yes, you could spread your resource in Assam area or wherever more of the petrochemical business is there. If your product line is more towards the mining business, you know the mining centers, we could place our resources in such mining areas. It all depends on what type of markets you are, handling.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Shastri.
Yeah,
Now, today it is a digitalized world. So, in this
yeah.
digital world, what do you think are the key industrial marketing tools which must be focused more by manufacturing companies?
Very, very, very important aspect today. I would say that even before I come to the specific, today, even when you're hearing the cricket commentary or any sports or other things, real-time data is of utmost importance. You would have seen. When we hear we all watched the famous test match in Brisbane. Most of us would have watched. So, real-time data becomes utmost important. That's the crux of the matter. So, I would say that I call it as customer relation management is the key. Okay. CRM. So it comes in different packages. Different companies have their own packages. But number two would be the data processing, how you process the data. Third is the sales funnel. Fourth could be the customer tracking, the material tracking. Fifth could be the tracking of the sales strategy. The next point could be the data analysis. Then next is the social media. So I would say that it's a digital world and each of these things has to be followed, has to have utmost importance. Utmost importance. Now, when you are formulating any strategy, you should have data in front of you. When we talk today, we are talking on real-time data. We cannot be telling, oh, there I think there is a good business. No, should have. When I say, yes, I am traveling to Indore, say my marketing guy is traveling to Indore, he cannot go to Indore and then decide where I am going to meet. He should have the data available with him who are my customers in Indore. There could be 10, 12, 15, 20, whatever it is in Indore and nearby places or any city. I'm just taking Indore for example. And then it is not only that he should have a main name and a retreat name. All these things will happen if my marketing team is equipped with real-time data. So I would say that any organization, big or small, you have to have real-time data available with you and real digital data should be available. Today, in my organization, I have access to everything what I require, which part of the world, what has been sold, what application it has been sold. We don't have to pick up a phone and talk. Sitting here while I am talking to you, I could access any data. So, that is the strength of the organization. And I would say that as much as we are focusing on laptops and other things, we have to invest as an organization on real-time data. Then only my sales team or my marketing team would get strengthened. Otherwise, say somebody goes to a very remote place like I would say somewhere in Assam. So what does he do? He meets two customers, but then he says, I have 2 more hours of time available. What do I do? The moment he logs into his system, he finds that there are 3 or 4 more customers. Fine, he has time at his disposal, and it's not a place where you can be running again and again. He says, okay, why not make a cold call? All this is possible when you have data available at your fingertips. Similarly, sales funnel. Today, organizations are running based on how you predict what will happen. And prediction cannot be based on some hunch or fast tracking. You should have real-time data to predict. So we talk about sales funnel. Sales funnel means, yes, when a marketing boy or a girl goes to the field, they will have lot of RFQs, requests for quotations and other things. They start accumulating the same, but slowly the process of filtration starts. And then they know, yes, I got inquiries for 5 crores, 6 crores or whatever it is. But ultimately, this is resulting into an orders for about 80 lakhs or 90 lakhs. This also gives him an idea or her an idea that today It is not that 5 crores converts into what is my strike rate? What is my strike rate? How many orders we are losing? Why we are losing the order? Who took the order? Everything is possible to analyze provided you have data available at your fingertips. So I would recommend Mr. Vasudevan that it's a digital world, and as much as we are investing on different types of training, if we don't invest on the different tools, digital tools, which I would recommend should be one of the most important investments for any organization, things will not work because as we have seen in this pandemic, it is impossible to reach all the places, and maybe this situation continues even without this pandemic. If you don't have real-time data, we are not talking facts, and if we are not talking facts, I am very sure that we are not going in the right direction. Not only that, I mean, if you look at the materials getting dispatched, say for our company, the materials are getting dispatched from faraway places like Germany. If you don't have real-time data when the materials are reaching, I mean, we can't be telling the customer, sir, it has left Germany. No, they don't expect such answers. They expect where it has landed, which flight it has taken off, when it is landing, when it is reaching Bangalore. So I would say that all these are customers' expectations are sky high, and as an organization, I would say that we have to invest in real-time data. And then not only investing in data or having data, we should have proper data analysis to say where we stand, what we did, how we did, and I am very sure this helps you in setting the right direction. So this is where. Next is the social media. Today, for an industrial product, social media, especially LinkedIn and all, are playing a very useful role. I mean, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I mean, not that I'm promoting LinkedIn, pardon me for that, but I'm telling any social media, for example, is very, very important because it is impossible to reach all the customers. But at the same time, especially for companies which have a very, very niche product like my company, social media plays a very, very big role. And last but not the least, I mean, cost effectiveness is also important. And at the same time, you need a very, very big reach. So all these combined together, it's a digital world, very rightly said by you, Mr. Vasudevan. And each organization, big or small, depending on what their size is, we need to invest heavily into these aspects. And then only we are actually strengthening our market and sales. And if otherwise, if you don't have proper input data, or if you cannot analyze the proper data, my fear is that you will be working on hunch. And sometimes you may be right, but majority of the times you could go wrong. These are my views.
Right. Real-time data and using the right tools is
Yes,
most
using
critical.
the right tool. Yeah, very critical because if you don't have a proper sales funnel, you cannot analyze how many offers I have given, where it stands, what position it is, how many of them are budgetary because I mean in marketing, many customers will ask for different offers. Sir, ये offer चाहिए, वो चाहिए. But at the same time, we should know each offer is standing at what situation. Some could be a real quotation, some could be a budgetary quotation. All these things are there. So all this is real-time data. So you have a sales funnel, and I mean it starts in a very big way, but ultimately you know what a funnel is, and then what comes out will be bare minimum. So how your sales funnel is, all this can be possible provided you are analyzing real-time data and your data analysis. This is what the customer expects, and when you are meeting a customer, you are well prepared to answer them. Both the things.
Right. Now, we were talking about the digitalized world and how
Yeah.
important the social media or the digital domain is playing, in today's world,
Yeah.
particularly in sales and marketing strategies. So I'm sure, Mr.
Correct.
Sastry, you also know that there may be a lot of risks involved. So what are the risks involved in implementing these new sales and marketing strategies?
Okay. It's a very, very important question, Mr. Vasudevan. What happens now when we are talking about sales and marketing strategies? As we could see in India, I mean, there have been a lot of joint ventures coming into the country. Okay. There have been a lot of FDIs coming, foreign direct investments coming to our country. And now this is coming. I mean, while this is a very good aspect, I'm very sure you need to have lot of due diligence before such decisions are taken. Because otherwise, I mean, we could drastically go wrong. So number one, I would say that yes, what is successful in Europe for one application need not be successful in India for the same application. I mean, that's why I told you require proper due diligence. It is country specific. This is very important. We can't just push the same marketing strategy prevailing in a particular country in each and every country. Hence, country specific marketing strategy is very important, or otherwise there are chances of failure. So I would say, let us take a classic case of solar business. I mean, so far, I mean, while government is giving a lot of emphasis on the solar business, so far it could not be successful for different reasons. So this is something where we should have country specific marketing strategy. Yes. I mean, let me take my own company. I mean, where I am currently working. Yes, we had the same products are going for different applications. I mean, for the same products are going for railway, same products are going for the crane application, same products are going for electro-hydraulic equipments. But at the same time, we need to be understanding how the customer in the local market thinks. While everybody wants a very good joystick or product, but at the same time, we need to understand what he can pay, what the market can afford. All those stuff is there. So that's why I would say yes, it's big market in India, but we should have a country-specific marketing strategy. That's number one. And then we need, second is product and country-specific. We need to understand the industrial scenario before introducing the product. The buying capacity, as I told, the local players in the field, the technical advancement required, the buying capacity, the government policy, etc. This is very, very important. I mean, you may have a very good product. I'm not denying it. I mean, you can have one of the products which has every possible feature which, I mean, one would dream to have. But is the Indian market or the market specific, current market ready to absorb that cost? So we need to study all this. This is where people go wrong. What product was very, successful in X country may not be successful in India. I mean, may not be. I'm just telling an example. So once you do this study, you will accordingly moderate your product required for that country. You can give a right feedback. Yes, all these features are not required. Basic features are required, and accordingly you can tweak the product to a certain extent. What could be more country specific, and this helps in positioning your product in a very, very, very right way. I would recommend that. That's very important. Government policy also. I mean, like today, if you ask me, government is heavily investing on rails, metros, and other things. Obviously, I mean, there is a big market available, and in line with that, you should know how to position your product. So, I mean, while you may have a very, very good product, it is very necessary to understand what that country, what that city, or what that customers in the local area could absorb. Next is, we should have a very, very clear consultant market reports. This is very important. You need to do lot of research before deciding what your marketing strategy should be and whether it will be successful or not. Otherwise, we could go wrong. How much market research has been done? For example, even for my current organization, where the products are very, very special, detailed review was done to decide make or buy or a combination of both. I'm just sharing a very important information that we had a very good product, but definitely the labor cost in Europe compared to the labor cost in India is a huge difference. I mean, all of you are aware. So it was decided, no, we buy some components from our country, follow the same designs, everything, rather assemble in India and make the product more competitive with the same features what is available in my parent country, in my parent company in Germany, and then push it into the market, and it has become a very big hit. I mean, people want a German product because, I'm not promoting my company, but they know that the technology is brilliant and other things, the sturdiness and other things. But at the same time, the local market was not in the position to afford that price. So what we did, you cannot deteriorate the product quality. So we maintained the product quality, but we decided, okay, We train our people, we assemble that product in India and then bring the cost down, affordable to what the local market requires. And today, I mean, I'm happy that this thought has been well appreciated by the market. Yes, we are still getting decent price. At the same time, what they were paying for an imported product, they don't have to pay that much. So all these things play a very important role. So I mean, in nutshell, what I meant to say was we need to do a market study. Say we have joysticks for the market, or I mean, you take any product. Let me not talk on just one product, but any product. We need to study in detail that yes, how much he could afford, how much the customer could afford, what type of applications they are looking for, and then you need to position the product. You can get brilliant technologies from any company, I mean country. Not a problem. The products are available. You could design a brilliant product, but then you should know whether this will help me in pushing the product in India or not. Next is, I would say, what strategy you will adopt, whether you will adopt a push strategy or a pull strategy. It is clear that what is visible in the market will be preferred. At the same time, if one enters the market totally with a push strategy, they may not be successful. Yes, initially push is required, but to sustain long term, there has to be a pull for your product. Otherwise, merely with a push strategy, the sustenance will not be there for a long time. What happens is that yes, initially, I mean, as they say, what is visible, what is seen is visible. Very right. What is seen is visible in a general industrial product. But at the same time, you can't just be pushing the product. Yes, initially, you can spread your products all over the places, everything. But once that is there, you need acceptance of the end user or the industry to say, yes, this product is good. So you can start with a push strategy, but ultimately it is a pull strategy. Pull means customer asking your product rather than you pushing your product to the market will work. You can start with push strategy, but I mean, depending on the type of product, but then ultimately it is a pull strategy which works. Pull means, yes, customer says, so once the market is available in the market, the marketing team is going to the different consultants, the marketing team is going to the different end users, briefing about the product quality, specifications, features, etc. And then also telling, sir, this product is available locally with my dealer. So this is a combination of push and pull strategy. And if this can be studied and practiced well, I'm very sure you will have a very good results for that. Last is on the dealer network. Now what happens is initially people, when they are entering the Indian market, what they do is that they appoint one or two distributors and other things. And then what happens is that initially everything looks good, but then they themselves become a perceived threat. So that is why we should keep in mind having a proper mix of direct business, dealers business, push strategy and pull strategy. This will help in, seeing that you are there all over the place. Otherwise, if you say, okay, I will sell my products to 4 basic dealers or distributors, I'm not against any such strategy, but at the same time, as an organization, we should know how much where we could sell directly, where we could go through a channel partner. All this, again, it depends on the structure of your organization and other things, where we could push our products, where the pull strategy will work. So this is a combination of all these aspects, Mr. Vasudev.
All right. You very well detailed out, explained the risks involved in implementing, new strategies, particularly.
Because we just cannot copy what we have done in some other country. So, I mean, you can take the good features of the product, good marketing strategies followed in your principal's company and other things. But at the same time, you have to have a proper local mix, keeping the local sentiments in mind, the local aspirations in mind, and of course, above all, what the customer is expecting locally.
Right. Thanks so much for that. As we really come to the end of our discussion, in terms of closing remarks, Shastri, are there other critical points or areas which you want to delve on and highlight in terms of the sales and marketing strategies?
Surely, Mr. Vasudevan, I would say, as we discussed at the very start or in one of our deliberations, data availability and associated tools are there, and real-time data is most important for formulating the sales and marketing. Okay. I mean, today we can say, oh, there is a very big business in X city, Y city. But if you don't have real-time data, we are only guessing. Okay. So I would say that way, yes. When we talk about any city, I mean, I'm not naming any city. So I would say the data availability and we should have associated tools so that real-time data is exceedingly important to formulate your marketing and sales strategy. This is one takeaway. Next is the SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats analysis of the organization as well as the market is very necessary. Keeping the choices available, the purchasing capacity, the value affordable for better technology, and whether high-end technology is required or not based on market demand. I mean, I had my own personal experience in one of my organizations. We had a brilliant product, but when we actually started studying the application, we felt that yes, such aspects or the features may not be required, and accordingly, while we didn't change much, but we definitely had a separate design for such applications, and that became a big hit. So this is also important. And then we need not run all over the places. So I would say be clear on what market segments we need to focus based on geographical location. This is exceedingly important because what happens is, yes, I mean, even as I see, I mean, people are coming from different countries and they say, oh, India is very big and other things. So we should be very clear. Looking at the vast size of our country and other things, we can't be running around all over the places. So I would say that we should focus based on what we initially need to do, and then in a phased manner, you could always move forward. That's one more aspect what I would say. Next is never have over reliance on a single market segment, as there always could be ups and downs. This is equally important. What happens is people establish a business or a setup keeping certain market in mind. So while initially it may work, so I would say that we cannot keep all our eggs in one basket. So never have over reliance on single market segment, because as we have seen historically, no market segment remains constant. There will be ups and downs, and if you don't have multi-segment products, you could be in trouble. So this is again one more aspect which people should keep in mind. Until unless you are making a very, very, very specific product, then okay, maybe this aspect will not hold good, but otherwise over reliance on a single market segment is always dangerous. Next, I would say is whether marketing business to business or through channel partners, keep a track on your end customers, as ultimately they decide what is good. Feedback mechanism is of utmost importance. It's very important. Every time, I mean, I would say the organizations which have done wonderfully well have had a very good feedback mechanism. Right? Not only it is the feedback what you get, but I would say that you act on the feedback what you get. And we should be strong enough to accept some negative criticism, because this is part and parcel of the business. And as I have seen, I mean, when we were young, we gave a feedback. Don't shoot the messenger, I would say. Yes, he got a feedback, he or she got a feedback, and they passed it on to the organization. But don't be critical about it. Understand the feedback, and then, yes, we can collectively decide. But if you don't have a feedback mechanism, we would be, definitely at some point of time go wrong. Then, last but not the least, with the current situation, it is clear that earlier myth of being at customer's place was given very high importance. However, as experienced last few quarters, we need to develop internal tools for virtual business discussions to the extent possible. This is very necessary today, and maybe we don't have time. Otherwise, I would have taken you through my factory tour to show you that we have created a small studio in our factory, so that when we have some virtual meetings with our customers, we can show them virtually everything what is available in German. So now we have to evolve on such things, because we do not know how many more months we would be still not be meeting the customers physically. And more than that, we have learned the hard way that yes, through virtual meetings and other things, we could still do the business. So these are some of the key takeaways, Mr. Vasudevan, what I could suggest.
Good, wonderful. So, sir, I think you talked about how critical it is to formulate the right sales and marketing strategies. Keeping the products and the market segment in mind, the customer need in mind. What
Yes.
kind of sales and marketing tools, particularly in a digitalized economy, what kind of tools should be adopted? What kind of risks are involved while you implement new strategies and how to mitigate these risks? You gave an overall very comprehensive and very informative account of the sales and marketing strategies, particularly for manufacturing industry. It was very eye-opening, and I'm sure our viewers in this program, people are part of this talk show who have listened to you. I'm sure they've taken a lot of information, useful information from this. And thanks for taking out your time and joining us in this program, Mr. Shastri. It's been wonderful having you with us. And I think we will also look forward to more opportunities to interact. You talked about your studio, which you have set up. So maybe sometime in the future, we will also have a chance.
Most welcome. Yeah, you are most welcome as well. Yeah.
Yes. So thanks so much for your time, and it was a pleasure and an honor talking to you.
I would say a big thank you to all of you for giving this an opportunity, being a marketing person, and it was a pleasure interacting with all of you. And I mean, it's wonderful being associated with not only with all of you, but above all with the TCS group. It's an honor actually for me. It's really an honor, and I thank you all. A big thank you for the opportunity given.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shastri.
Yes, sir.